So we're going to start with our new director for early childhood education, Dr. Suzanne Fossage. Everybody wave at Suzanne. Dr. Fossage is currently employed by Special School District as the area coordinator at Hazelwood East High School. Prior to this position, she served as an SSD administrative intern. She was a school principal in the new Bloomfield School District from 2009 to 2011, and she also served as director of special education in the Rolla School District and the Blair Oaks School District in Jefferson City, Missouri. She began her career as a special education teacher with Special School District in 1992. She earned her doctorate in education from Missouri Baptist University. She received her educational specialist degree from Lincoln University. Her master's degree in special education and her bachelor's degree in psychology are from Truman State University. She will assume the leadership position currently held by Dr. Jane Brown, who is retiring at the end of the year. Let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Fossage. And we also had the board approve our new Marquette High School associate principal, Tracy Wackerly. Tracy, stand up. Tracy is a familiar face. She currently is an assistant principal at Marquette High School, where she works with the class of 2021. She also oversees the educators in the fine arts, performing arts, world languages department, to all of them. She began her career in education as a social studies teacher at Marquette High School in 2008. Ms. Wackerly earned a master's degree in school administration and a master's degree in teaching secondary education from Lindenwood University. Her bachelor's degree is in psychology and minor in justice systems from Truman State University. She is currently pursuing her doctorate in educational leadership at none other than Maryville University with Dr. Kinder. She will assume the associate principal position currently held by Dr. Stephen Hankins, who was selected as the new Marquette High School principal effective July 2019. So, Ms. Wackerly, welcome. And the board has also approved the new assistant principal for Kerrs Mill Elementary School, and this also is a familiar face, Mr. Hector Ramirez. Hector is here. Mr. Ramirez is currently the principal of Murphy Elementary School in the Northwest School District. Previously, he was the assistant principal at Stanton Elementary School in the Rockwood School District. He began his career in education as a third grade teacher at Stanton Elementary in 2010. Mr. Ramirez earned a master's degree in school administration from Lindenwood University. His bachelor's degree in elementary education is from William Woods University. He is currently working toward his educational specialist in administration degree from William Woods University. And he will assume the position currently held by Ms. Beth Sherrata, who was selected as Kerrs Mill's new principal effective 2019. So, Mr. Hector Ramirez, welcome back. All right, that's exciting stuff. I have a few more things to share before I eat my dark chocolate Kit Kat left by Ms. Romberg. Two Rockwood schools, added to the list, have been named the 2019 National Schools of Character by Character.org. Congratulations to students and staff at Lafayette High School, and we should note this is our first high school to become a National School of Character. For a long time, it really wasn't customary for high schools to go through the process, but our high schools are beginning to do that, and it's nice to have Lafayette recognized. And also Blevins Elementary, who is actually re-upping their title. They've had it in the past, I do believe. Blevins, if I just read this, it's on the paper. Blevins received the National School of Character designation for a second time.
Stick to the script. Time for your chocolate.
Also, 8 Rockwood schools earned Promising Practice Awards from Character.org, and you can read about their promising practices on our district website or social media. Let's talk about St. Louis Community College students. graduation honor cord ceremony were held for the graduating class of 2019 and our 30 Rockwood seniors who are part of the Early College Partnership Program. Those students have earned both a high school diploma and an associate's degree. Seniors graduating with an associate's degree. We are so honored, and they already had the honor cord ceremony on May 9th. I already said what it was. All right. And congratulations to them. We have a total of 60 students in that program, and we have 30 that will be graduating. Let's see, members of the Eureka High Quiz Bowl team qualified for High School National Championship Tournament, also known as the Quiz Bowl Nationals. That makes sense. Honors Geometry and Algebra 2 teacher Michael McDonald serves as faculty sponsor. He said that the Quiz Bowl is like four-person team Jeopardy. Competition is May 24th in Atlanta. Good luck to them. Let's see. Relay for Life coming up. Last Friday was a Power of Purple Day, and Rockwood's 2019 Relay for Life Cancer Blowout takes place on Saturday, June 1 at Summit High School, scheduled from 5 p.m. to midnight. I think we have a lot of teams, a lot of schools represented. Should be good weather. Opening ceremonies at 6 p.m. And finally, this is a pretty cool story. The parents of a Baldwin Elementary student found a health concern was going to keep their child out of school for quite some time. And there's Deb.
Over here.
There's Deb Hayden. Thank goodness Rockwood Technology came to the rescue. Patrick Margison is still a part of his class thanks to a high-tech connection to his classroom. Are we watching a video of this? We are. It's up. Ouch.
Patrick's got a little, I used to call it a learning iPod or learning bot. It's through the Rockwood Department of Technology. And the reason why we got this robot is Patrick was diagnosed with ALL leukemia back in October. And we knew right away that one of the first decisions we made once we got our diagnosis was we're going to keep him out of school during the flu season. Weeks into the treatment, you start seeing the side effects of not, having contact with your peers or your friends, what it does to you. So everything's getting difficult. At the same time, Christine Davis, falling out with the principal came to us and said, hey, we got this great thing, the technology department of Rockwood's put it together, it's called the Learning Lab.
I just happened to be talking to Dr. Jamie Smith, and she said, hey, you've got this thing called a telepresence robot. And, of course, I was going, oh my gosh, super cool, a robot. What did that entail? And basically, she said it was an opportunity for a kiddo to log in from home on a device and still be able to participate in everything that the kids are doing in the classroom.
I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. I was like, well, the future is here. So if you can be at school in robot form, that's pretty awesome.
My friends and I thought it was funny because they thought it was funny because it's just stick with wheels with my face on it.
The kids on the other end have been so great. They're just real accepting of the robot. They treat him like he's there, even though he's just a flat screen.
Oh, we'll read them out loud and we can all decide if it's a patriot or a loyalist that says this. Okay.
The class in here is excellent at making sure that Patrick does feel included, and so if we do come across some challenges, like he can't hear us or he can't see, they're always making sure that they're connecting with him.
He's being treated as if he was right there. He's joining all the normal kid things. He doesn't feel like he's, removed from school. He's still included.
Rory, are you talking about a patriot's point of view or a loyalist point of view? Okay?
These kids are so just compassionate and loving and truly concerned about the well-being of each other. This telepresence robot, iPad, has really taken away some of the fear in their lives. They're not as scared. They know Patrick's receiving chemotherapy, certain weeks out of the month. But then they turn around and they see him on the iPad and moving around the room and, feeling great and looking healthy and, checking in and answering questions. And I just feel like it's been one more way that we can continue to teach empathy and resilience and understanding and love.
Now, I believe, am I correct, is Patrick back at school now? Yes, Patrick is back at school now, and now we are utilizing a robot for another student. I guess that's me, I'm sorry. We're utilizing the robot for another student at Ridge Meadows. So this is so great. Deb came and talked to me in one of our meetings early in the year and said, should we jump into this and start trying it? And we were both in agreement and shared with the admin team, and it's probably a wave that's coming, for multitudes of reasons where we may see these things, but the fact that the kids can actually be there and move around and navigate the school, navigate the classroom. So anyway, that's wonderful. Thanks for that story, and that's all I have for today.
Any board comments?
I have a quick comment. Last Saturday, I had the opportunity to go to the Little Thinkers Theater.
Oh, yeah.
And it was amazing. Talk about, we were just talking about innovation, but another great instance of the innovations that's happening here in the Rockwood School District. It was inspirational. It was funny. It was so well done. So thank you to all who put that together, and keep it going. It's wonderful.
Okay, I have to give a shout out to one of my former Marquette students. His name is Josh Modulin. I saw him at the library the other day. He was my student 22 years ago. I hadn't seen him in 20 years.
You're not that old.
He was a complete, I almost stopped teaching because of him. And I recognized him, and he hugged me 3 times and said how sorry he was. And it totally made my day. And most important, though, his daughter goes to Marquette, and he's so proud of her. And his 10-year-old son was right there and said, "Be nice to your teacher," because I was not nice to her. So I give a shout out to Josh. I told him I would do that. So any other comments? Are we good?
We should also recognize the ILC graduation that was today that many of us were at. It was a great ceremony, so congratulations to all of those graduates.
Good. Anything else? Okay, so I need a motion to approve the consent agenda items as submitted.
Go move.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, that passes. All right, next, moving on, we have a motion to approve the 2019-20 extracurricular activities, ECA stipends, and positions as listed.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. So, Dr. Tracy Edwards is here to talk to us. Welcome.
Well, thanks. Thank you, Board. Dr. Knost. I am here for our annual ECA presentation and request for our extracurricular activities. I know that you have the 2 documents included with this board agenda, the PowerPoint and the pay chart, so I'm just going to kind of click to some of the main pages of the PowerPoint. First off, as you know, we work really hard each year to take a look at Ed Plus comparable data, and the cost going into 1920 to sustain the 3rd quartile of all the data, 20-plus districts, is $14,234. That's going to be the budget to sustain our coaching stipends, our ECAs. So that's one to call to your attention tonight. Next slide to call to your attention. This was what we discussed last time at this time, last May, I should say. We, as a committee, brought to you these things that was not in the budget. Last year's ECA 3rd quartile took up our budget. This year, we planned accordingly, and you had approved those again, but it was a budget item, so we're asking for you to take a look at those 6. Real briefly, just talking to those, our middle school drama is just to be sure that we are equally representing those schools that do and do not want to. Some do, some do not, so we split it up. The show choir, right now, we currently have 1 high school that does that. Assistant football coaches for safety, our program just continues to grow. High school weight room, same thing. Our programs just continue to grow, and we need someone in there. Girls wrestling, how exciting was that we had at the awards tonight? Gals that made it all the way to state, so obviously all 4 of our high schools, sure enough, made it work this year, but we're excited in 1920 to be able to give them another coach specifically for the girls. And then cross-country has to do with the elementary PE a few years ago, adding back daily PE. Our bigger schools have 3 PE teachers, and we'd like to compensate them for going to that track meet. So that's kind of, again, those were talked about and discussed last year and appropriately budgeted, if you will, now for this year. This coming school year. And then lastly, each spring we get together before I come here tonight, and the committee comes together, and we had some really great conversations about a handful of things. Both meetings went far later than they normally do. And because of that, we have decided, normally ECA is a spring committee. We're going to come together in the fall, and you can see all of the things that were discussed here in February and April. We're going to tackle it in the fall of 19. We're going to re-examine the current formula. They really kind of want to look at, we've used this comparable Ed Plus for 20 probably plus years now. I don't have the exact number, but a very long time. They just kind of want to look at and be sure that that aligns to fair compensation for our district. Develop a plan of longevity. That has to do with when a coach stays at it for a while, what kind of additional do they make? Because right now, if you're a year 1 head football coach, you make X, and if you're a year 10 head football coach, you make that same X. So that's kind of that longevity conversation of honoring coaches that stay in those same positions. Create a consistent plan for analysis of fine arts. So right now, a lot of our fine art stipends are not part of the comparable data. We'd like to take a look at how we can consistently look at their pay increase each year fairly. Principals are really trying to, and ADs, I should say, are really wanting to kind of have more fluidity and flexibility to the ACA budget as a whole, so we're going to need to talk about that, because right now that's not the case. If they have 3 assistant volleyball, they get 3 assistant volleyball. If they only have 2, they can't take the 1 volleyball and move it over, so because 3 were approved. So we're going to kind of talk about that. More discretionary, self-explanatory, they like to have, again, kind of ties with the other one. And then just the analysis of some of our stipends, we feel like for the amount of hours, we're really below, and it's not really matching up for what Rockwood expects compared to maybe what the comparables expect, which kind of ties in actually to number 1. So it's a lot of conversation. Again, it was a really good 2 meetings, but we have some work cut out for us in the fall. And so because of that, there really isn't a budget item to it. We'll hopefully have some ideas for then to get together in the spring for me to be back here again a year from now in May with some idea of the funds that it will take to look at those things. So that's the highlights of ECA. Any questions?
How do you determine how many assistants are in each sport?
Right now, I would say 90+% are based on if we have a freshman, a JV, and a varsity level.
Okay, so like when I saw football has 6 or 8, so that's assistant coach, that covers all levels, or is that just varsity?
Absolutely. It covers all levels, and basically the ADs have come sharing that the number of kids out on the field, because our football teams, all 4 programs continue to grow, that having the amount that we have is not as safe as they'd like it to be. They feel it needs to be safer, so that's why they requested another one.
Anyone else? No. Okay, so the motion is to approve the 2019-20 ECA stipends and positions as listed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy.
All right, next I need a motion to approve review for new policy on data governance and security.
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second, so Dr. Knos is going to talk to us about this.
And real simple, we don't really have much to discuss tonight. We just, we need to review this. We need data governance policy. Some of this is, a review that's needed because in comparison to MSBA and what's out there. So before we get too far down, I want to allow Deb to do this, and really by policy, we need to have your approval to look into it.
Good. Any questions? No. So the motion is to approve review for new policy on data governance and security. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes. Next. Wait a minute, what happened here?
You're good.
No, it's like, yeah. I know, but this was paper clipped. All right, next we're going to look at the FY20 proposed budget. So we're having an update by Paul Northington and Dan Steinbrugge. Welcome.
Yes, good evening. Each May, we typically give you a preview of the budget for the upcoming year. This is an update to the preliminary budget update we gave you back in December. Over the last few months, some of the information we received starts to materialize as far as information in regards to state funding or local tax base, things of that nature. So Dan and his team have been working hard putting the numbers together. He'll share some numbers with you. We'll give you a high-level overview of where we see the budget, not only for next year, but we'll also give you an update for the current budget year, and Dan has some good information to share with you. So we'll talk about what the budget picture looks like for 1920 tonight. And then at our first board meeting in June, we will bring to you our proposed budget for 1920 with supporting schedules. And then at the second June board meeting, we'll actually bring to you the final budget book, which will be part of our total budget synopsis. And that document, the budget book that's adopted at the June 20th meeting, will be what we use to submit for application for a meritorious budget award. So it's kind of just a little insight to that. Again, timeline real quick. The budget process starts in the fall. So in October, we start the project process for budget for the upcoming year. We have our official September enrollment count that helps us guide staffing levels, capacity levels at the building. It gives us guidance on going to departments regarding their budget request, and also budget allocations for the building based on their enrollment. From there, we have meetings and discussions with our leadership team in November, and then in December, we bring the preliminary budget to you, which we did this past December. And then from there, January, we give indications to the buildings about what their allocations will be for the upcoming year. And then from January up to now, we fine-tune the processes of information is materialized from that point. And then we're here tonight to talk about the budget for 1920, and then it's formally adopted in June. And what we're talking about is our district operating budget, and this kind of gives you a little snapshot of what we're really talking about in our operating budget. It comprises of our general fund, our special teachers fund, and then the building portion of our capital projects fund. All three of those entities make up what we call our operating funds. So it's basically everything but our debt service and our bond issue funds, things that provide for our day-to-day operations of the school district. Now I'll turn it over to Dan to let him kind of give you an executive summary of the numbers, not only for this year, but what we see for next year.
Good evening. Spend a couple minutes just going over the revenue and expenditures. For the 2019-20 school year, we have a budget of $234.2 million. So the slide shows a summary of what we presented back in December. So we've increased revenue $1.2 million. But of that, I just want to point out that 900 of that is related to the bus transaction with the transition of 35 buses. So we have to record the monies that we're receiving from the bank as revenue. So it's really a one-time funding that's not going to be there every year unless we keep with the transition. But that money is really just going to be going out to pay for the buses. So it's just really an accounting transaction. So it's kind of overstating the revenue, but we have to record it as revenue. We've made some adjustments based off of information received from the county as well as the state on funding, so we have about $300,000 in other adjustments, but very minor compared to the overall budget. Current year, so our 20 budget will be about $5 million over what our current year numbers are. As I'll kind of go through some of those assumptions, but it's kind of an indication of our local tax base, which we're heavily dependent on. 80% of our revenue is from our local tax base. We also get about 17% from the state, so we're really tied. 97% of our budget's coming from the local and state entities. So kind of go through a couple of significant assumptions. Every odd year, when it comes to setting the tax rate, is a reassessment year. So from the St. Louis County right now is going through and reassessing all the values and everything like that. So we've added a 2.8% increase in assessed valuation, expecting like we did 2 years ago in 2017, an increase in assessed valuation. And some of the preliminary numbers that we've received from the county show that, up to almost 13%. We don't expect that to happen. It usually comes back down once everybody gets their notices and they start going to the county and kind of working through that process and everything, but still very healthy. We are continuing to monitor the collection. So about a year ago, we kind of mentioned that every time you have an increase in assessed valuation, we as a district will experience increased protest taxes, which requires us to pay monies back to taxpayers if they have filed a claim with the county and have been awarded basically a tax break in their previous assessments. So we're trending better this year. With 2019 being another reassessment year, we are expecting, again, protest taxes to go up, and then also monitoring delinquent taxes and everything. So if our collection rate doesn't come in at the 97.5%, it's possible we'll have a short-term decrease in fund balance, but typically we're able to recoup that as part of the recoupment process, and we'll provide more information on that once we kind of get final numbers in September when we come back with our the tax rate hearing. From a state level, we are increasing our state funding. The SAT is currently this year is at 6308. We're increasing that to 6338. Although the legislation has passed through the budget a increase or appropriation if funding is available, that SAT would go up to 6375. Right now, we're kind of holding on going into the new fiscal year, waiting for that money to actually show up. But in the past, if the House, or I'm sorry, if the legislation has appropriated the money, usually it comes through. But right now, we're just kind of waiting to see in order to make those adjustments. And overall, other local, state, and county monies are relatively flat. So from an expenditure base of it, we have a $234 million budget that we'll be bringing forth for approval in June. Again, of that amount, $1 million, as you kind of note, we have from December, our expenditures increased $1.2 million. But of that, $1 million of that is related to our bus transaction. So 900 of it is going to pay for the buses when they come in, and then we'll have an additional lease commitment, which was approved tonight, and that's the $110,000. Salaries and benefits continue to be our largest expenditure as a percentage. 86% of our expenditures are salaries and benefits, and our budget up there does account for all of the salary approvals that the board has made through the last couple of months. Overall, this is just a recap of our expenditure assumptions. We have a couple of small capital items in there for our renovation at the old Eureka lot for the bus transition, and also some money set aside for some vehicle refresh. I think to close, we have our fund balance picture here. So just want to point out that when we started the 2018-19 school year, we had a balanced budget. We've seen some improvements from funding as well as expenditures, where we expect to have about a $900,000 increase in fund balance. So we have a positive going to our fund balance, and then we'll be presenting a balanced budget at the June 6th meeting for approval. I believe we'll close with just a quick update on our self-sustaining funds, and Paul will take that.
Dan?
told you to have some good news. $900,000 surplus this year is pretty good when we started with a balanced budget. So things have gone well. So it's good to see. On just kind of a final note on a couple other items, self-sustaining funds, which is community ed, our food service and student activities will be very comparable to what we saw this current school year, and they will continue to be self-supporting in their own activities. And then our second installment of our 2017 bond authorization will probably come to the board in late October, early November to ask to authorize the remaining $32 million that goes with that. And the reason why we're doing it at that time, we really don't anticipate needing the funds till then, number one. But number two, it also gives us the opportunity to actually see where our tax base is. If you'll remember, we do our tax rate hearing in September. We have finalized information from the assessor's office, so that'll help us plan how we structure that offering going forward. And then debt service fund, we really didn't talk about it, but it continues to be self-sufficient. Our debt service levy has been 68 cents for quite some time. That current levy is more than ample to satisfy our debt obligations going forward, so it will certainly stay at the same level. That's a real quick overview of what we'll bring to you in June. Are there any questions or considerations for us for bringing the budget to you next month?
Paul, I have two questions.
Yes, sir.
You said you're going to bring us in, let me see, what is it, what month? Is this June?
June 6th is our first June meeting.
That's your projected.
We're going to bring, no, it'll be the actual budget that we're going to recommend and ask the board for approval at the first June meeting.
In the second, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so it will have some supporting schedules, but the actual final budget book will be provided to the board at the June 20th meeting. It'll still be the same numbers, it'll just have the final book presented at June 20th.
Say it again about on June 20th, what it is? Is that closing out of this year's budget?
Well,
yet.
you won't have all the final numbers at that point for this year.
I know what it is.
Yeah, there's still some few items pending, and we have accruals and things to take care of even after the year ends over. But we need to approve next year's budget before July 1.
On the debt service, you said it's adequate, sufficient. Do you anticipate maybe taking more money out of that and paying off some bonds faster?
Well, as you know, it's a function of the tax base. So as our tax base grows, and if it grows above projections, that naturally makes that a little easier to do. The other thing to remember is that we have a long-term plan to transition from debt service into capital projects. And the bottom line is this: if our numbers improve, like we're seeing in our tax base, that will help us accelerate that timeline. So initially, we were talking about making that transition in 24, 25, and 26, 27. It looks like we may be able to move that up a little bit, given the current economic setting.
Okay, good.
So that's something we'll continue to watch as well.
Awesome.
Jeez.
Good questions, thank you.
Did you really live in Neelyville for a few years?
No, sir, my daughter does.
Oh, you did?
Or my daughter, she doesn't live there, she teaches there.
Okay, I thought maybe you did.
Yeah. And by the way, I didn't know if you caught the subliminal message, but Dan and I are still supporting the Blues. We wore a blue shirt tonight.
Good.
So.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right. Next, need a motion to approve the bond issue purchases and related contracts, $7,500 to $150,000 as submitted.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. So we have Mike Schneider coming up first. Welcome. He's very dressed up. I like it.
Commentary.
Hello?
Oh.
Hello.
Got like 7 items. Would you like me to read all 7 of them? All right. Purchase of 3 SC 500 20-inch walk-behind custodial equipment scrubbers.
Okay.
Purchase of 4 Clark Vantage custodial equipment 14-inch micro scrubbers. Purchase of 6 Clark RA40 20-inch mini rider custodial equipment scrubbers. Various schools. Purchase of 3 SC500 X20D 20-inch walk-behind custodial equipment scrubbers. Purchase of 3 Advanced Advenger X2805R-C Rider Custodial Equipment Scrubbers.
Model number.
Purchase of 4 Advanced 20-inch battery-powered floor burnishers.
I get more excited about long.
Purchase of 5 Clark EX4018LX 18-inch 9-gallon carpet extractors. Purchase of 1 John Deere X700 series tractor less the mower deck with quick hitch 54-inch front blade. And purchase of 1 Toro Sand Pro 3040 bunker rake with attachments for dragging baseball and softball fields at 4 high schools. That includes a trade-in credit for 1 John Deere 1200A bunker and field rake. And purchase of 7 Kivak 17-gallon no-touch custodial equipment cleaning systems. Purchase of 3 Kivak 27-gallon no-touch custodial equipment cleaning systems.
What is going on my phone?
This is part of a 3-year cycle of purchasing, and I'd like to point out the new elementaries in there also. So.
Right. I'm glad you said that. Thank you for saying that. All right, any questions on any of those?
Which year are we in on that cycle? This is the first?
We're in 2? I think we're in 2.
2? So we'll get the same thing again probably next year or something similar?
Well, something similar.
Okay. So I think we put these all together, though, so, right? Yeah, so Brenda, so thank you, Mike and Brenda. Kirchhoffer is next.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so I have, the first 2 items that I'm presenting this evening are related to capital outlay, and these are items that we're replacing due to poor condition or safety-related items. And this particular one is this lovely curtain at Rockwood Summit High School. I was noticing during the award ceremony that I did see some dry rot on the bottom, so we're happy to get them a new one. So that is what this purchase is for. And then the next purchase from Education Plus is, this is related to just various furniture items at different elementary schools. They vary from classroom furniture to seating for conference rooms, anything that was safety related. We were able to purchase new items for them this year. And then the next item is also with Education Plus, and this is for furniture for the office space at the newly renovated Eureka High School. So we're purchasing new furniture for 7 offices, and then we're reusing furniture in 5. So, anything that's basically customer-facing is going to be new and beautiful, and then some of the offices in the back are going to get existing furniture that's still in great condition. And then lastly, these are for appliances for the new Eureka Elementary School. Refrigerators, microwaves, washers and dryers, various things like that, so it's pretty straightforward.
Good. Any questions about any of those? All right, so the motion is to approve the bond issue purchases and related contracts, $7,500 to $150,000 as submitted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you. All right, next thing, a motion to approve the bond issue purchases and related contracts over $150,000 from Haddock Education Technologies, 1-year contract renewal for Prom, Theon, interactive flat panels to replace existing smart boards upon failure. And, hello, Deb Kettering.
I was just making sure I only had one thing.
You need a motion? Yeah, I need a motion. So moved.
Second?
I was busy watching where she was. We have a motion and a second. Go ahead, please.
So this is for the renewal of the contract. Last year, we changed from smart interactive whiteboards and projectors to an interactive flat panel from Promethean. And because that was a new technology for us, we wanted to make sure that it was something that we were satisfied with before we committed to a long-term contract. So this is just a renewal.
Okay, any questions?
Yeah, Deb, how many of these do we have in the field now, do you know?
We have about 100 with about 15 more in the works. And then we'll have, the new Eureka Elementary will have all interactive
And then how many
Prometheans.
years down the road do you see us maybe all Promethean?
It will be a slower process because we're replacing on failure,
Gotcha.
just due to cost.
Gotcha. Okay.
It took us about 8 years to get all the way through with interactive smart boards, so.
So are you afraid that something else newer is going to come out by the time we get all these replaced?
That's always a fear, yeah.
What kind of feedback?
Or always an opportunity.
Okay.
What kind of feedback are we getting from the teachers on the Prometheans?
Initially, it was a little hesitancy, but now that the instructional technology teachers are fully up to speed and they're working with the classroom teachers, they're really happy with them now. It's just taken a little while to get everything in sync and off the ground, but now people are really happy with them and like them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love them. I saw a school I was at a couple weeks ago. There was 4 students working in quadrants on the same board, which was amazing. You can't do that with smartboard.
No, you can't.
Yeah. It's really cool.
So that was one of the selling features. Yeah.
Was that $350,000 for about 50 of those?
They're about 3,000 a piece.
Okay.
And so there's 2 days of professional development?
Yes.
Built into this cost, or is that cost on top? That would be
No, it's built into the cost. We get it for every so many boards that we purchase. For about every 50 boards, we get 1 day of professional development. And Katie Domfort, our professional learning representative, has been fantastic. She's come out and really worked with us a lot.
Okay.
And she's actually a resident of the district, so she has gone above and beyond.
Okay, great.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
Good questions. Motion to approve, the motion is to approve the bond issue purchases from Haddock Education Technologies. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you. All right, proposed agenda for the June 6, 2019 Board of Education meeting. Anybody have anything to say about the agenda?
Just a reminder, what I had sent to the board in my memo last week, I think, and Paul alluded to it. I'm trying to make some arrangements. I always try to keep summer meetings light. I think that's important with vacations and such. Of course, there's things we have to have approved. Dr. Miles will be here on June the 20th, and I think even though he will inherit the budget that has been under my watch, it's a budget for the fiscal year 1920. I prefer, and I think he does too, and it makes most sense for him to see the presentation on the way forward, because that's a living, breathing document for 5 years, and he'll become a big part of that. So I've switched the formal approval of the budget presentation for the first June meeting to move the way forward to the second June meeting so Dr. Miles can be here and be part of that. So that's just the rationale. Paul mentioned kind of that order of things, but just wanted you to know that justification of those over the next 2 meetings.
Okay. Anything else about the agenda? All right. Future agenda presentations and events to attend. We have graduation next week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I apologize in advance. I'm going to hog the summit one. Thank you very much. May 29th through the 30th, the Way Forward Summer Conference at Rockwood Summit High School. Is that what you sent us?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And you don't have to go for that whole time.
But it is both days.
It's both days, and that email I sent you from Renee kind of...
This is Rockwood Summit. It's at Lafayette?
Lafayette.
Our calendar says Lafayette.
No, it's changed.
Oh, it's at Summit?
It's at Summit.
Summit, all right. And September, why are we even talking about September?
We're talking about September because the cutoff to get to the MSBA conference is on June 17th. And if anybody wants to go, I have to register you to get a room, and...
I'm going.
Okay.
What is the date of the conference?
The 26th and 29th. 26th to the 29th, and there's a tax hearing the night.
26th to 29th of which month?
Of September.
September?
So maybe think about that.
Did you send something out on it, or can you send something out? Did you send something out on that?
It's on the calendar. I didn't send an invite to it, but I can.
Did you send it out?
I will.
Thank
It's
you.
on there if you look at it, but I didn't know if everybody wanted to
Thanks,
go.
Janet.
But to get a room on the resort that morning of the 17th of June, I have to get in there like right at 8:05 or else we're not going to be on the resort, so.
Take the plane again.
Okay, so by next board meeting,
Yeah, just something to think about.
let her know.
Because I can't pretend that somebody's going. I have to actually register you to get a room. They don't let you go around it.
Okay. All right, anything else? All right, I'm not adjourning because we are going back into close for a little while.